Hi, I'm Bethany, I'm 28 and I live in London. So I fell ill with COVID and it wasn't a particularly severe infection, and after a couple of weeks I started feeling a little better, but just this fatigue that was hanging around, and then as the weeks went on I was picking up more and more symptoms. Within 2 to 3 months I didn't really have energy for very much other than using the bathroom and eating. I lost count of how many symptoms I had, but fatigue and pain and twitching and tingling and all sorts of nervous system related symptoms. I tried to get help through my GP, but they didn't know what was going on. They didn't really have anything to suggest. I'd heard from other people that psychological tools have been helpful to them in recovery, and perhaps psychological factors were an influence in falling ill. And I also read Alex's book, Why Me?, where he talks about the Optimum Health Clinic, and a lot of the things he said resonated. Also, it was, I guess, kind of an intuition that it felt like it was something that I had to do. I felt quite nervous about it, which I think was a sign that it was something that was going to be useful for me. I went to the Decode Your Fatigue live series, which was helpful, and then had a discovery call, talked to someone about my symptoms, and then she recommended 2 practitioners for me to work with.
When I had my first session with Bethany, we spent some time trying to understand what had led to Bethany's fatigue. She felt strongly that the main trigger had been a virus, but when we looked at her history before that, we also saw quite long periods of heightened stress throughout her teens and early 20s. Of course, the longer a more acute stress response goes on, the more it can also have an effect on your energy levels.
It felt good to start the nutrition work because it felt like the beginning of piecing together the puzzle, and there were things that I hadn't really thought about.
We decided to do a functional adrenal test. Adrenal glands are small glands on top of the kidneys, and they help the body respond to stress by releasing hormones like adrenaline, which is a more shorter-lived stress hormone, and cortisol, which can help manage longer-term stress. But if the stress goes on for too long, the adrenal glands can become overworked, and that can lead to tiredness and other issues in the body.
It was a little nerve-wracking going through the test and wondering what might come up. I didn't know whether to want something to come up or not to want something to come up, but I definitely felt like Sana had a lot of expertise and could support me going through that process.
When we got Bethany's results back, we saw that her adrenals were still able to produce healthy quantities of the stress hormone cortisol, so that was great. However, her cortisol awakening response was quite a bit higher than optimal. Her waking cortisol levels are nicely within expected range, but then within the first half hour, the cortisol levels rise right to the top end of the range, and her cortisol levels still keep rising in the following 30 minutes as well, where actually normally we are expected to start seeing a gentle decline at that point. Over time, this sort of situation can very much lead to feelings of tired and wired, anxious, being even burned out.
We did a phased approach, so initially we focused on the cortisol levels, and I took a range of supplements to help calm the nervous system. And then, although that helped my mental health, it didn't particularly help the physical symptoms so much. So then we looked at the immune system piece, and I started taking some immune supplements and antiviral supplements.
There were signs of some degree of ongoing immune activation. Her glands had been swelling up here and there, especially when she was using up more energy. And we tend to see these as signs of an immune system that hasn't quite closed down all of the infectious activity. So we also then decided to focus more on immune system support as far as our supplement program was concerned. I'm delighted to say that by the end of our journey, Bethany's energy, sleep and digestion had all improved quite significantly, and she had also been learning to manage her stress levels in a much more positive way. We also left some basic digestive support in place, as Bethany was still having occasional issues with her digestive system. That's often the case. There might be some residual things that are not fully resolved, and of course we just left the door open for her to come back if she needed some further support at any point in the future.
Bethany was really open to the approaches we use in therapeutic coaching, and in her sessions with Sarah, she found something she hadn't experienced before, a safe, compassionate space where her vulnerability was welcomed and her courage was nurtured.
It was really helpful to hear a little bit about Sarah's experience with chronic illness as well. I felt like she had some understanding. I'd spoken to medical professionals before who maybe even had some medical understanding of the condition, but just didn't seem to understand what my experience was at all, and was saying things like, just try not to be anxious, and trying not to be anxious was making me feel more anxious, whereas Sarah had a very different approach. She helped me understand where the anxiety was coming from.
Through psychoeducation with Sarah, Bethany began to understand the intricate connection between her mind and body, how her symptoms weren't just physical, but deeply tied to her emotional landscape. The Reset programme gave her a comprehensive map of the science behind healing, and it empowered her with the tools and knowledge she needed to navigate her own healing journey. One of the most transformative aspects of Bethany's healing was learning to cultivate self-love and self-care. As a therapeutic coach, Sarah was able to help Bethany gently observe the internal patterns that were blocking her ability to treat herself with kindness. Bethany, who worked in social investment, was deeply empathetic towards others, but it took her some time to begin to turn that same compassion inwards. And this shift wasn't just theoretical, it was felt. Bethany started recognising the harsh inner dialogue she'd been living with and began replacing it with a softer, more nurturing voice.
One thing we worked on a lot was a perfectionist pattern, which was showing up in lots of different parts of my life previously, and I guess especially when I was ill, I was really applying that to recovery. So for example, when I was resting, I felt like I must be completely relaxed and resting in order to be recovering, and that was completely getting in the way of achieving any meaningful rest at all. So learning to let go of the need to rest perfectly, or to assess how well I was resting all the time, helped me get much better rest. I also really resonated with EFT, emotional freedom technique, or tapping. It really helped me let go of a lot of emotions that I'd been carrying, especially shame. And once I'd done that, for example, I did a lot of tapping work around shame around getting ill. And once I let that go, I was able to approach recovery more from a place of wanting to recover rather than feeling like I must recover.
EFT enabled Bethany to create the space to acknowledge and sit with her difficult feelings of shame so that she could be supported to work through them. Many of our difficulties with our distressing emotions, such as shame, come from our attempts and struggles to get rid of them or suppress them. EFT creates a safe and supported way to do the opposite of this. So to acknowledge, accept, and allow the feeling to be there, and then to be supported to use the tapping points so that you can process through the feeling. The memories Bethany had, which had led to the feelings and patterns of shame, were released and processed through EFT, and she shifted into a place where she's now able to take care of herself with confidence and self-trust. She stopped shaming herself into taking care of herself, reined in the perfectionist tendencies, and this led to a much kinder, softer approach to her healing and self-care.
Really what's helped is learning to do things that are important to me from a place of care rather than from a place of shaming myself. Particularly that's been really helpful with my health, because now I understand how important it is to look after my health. It's really easy for the perfectionist pattern to come along and beat me up if I don't get 8 hours sleep or make a little mistake or whatever. I'm trying to look after my health, to care for my body and to care for myself, rather than to tick some box and say that I've done it right. In some ways I have more energy than before I got ill, although I think that's a function of looking after myself better, getting more sleep. And also, although the nutrition work wasn't necessarily helpful for adjusting my symptoms significantly, I think it has been helpful for just my overall well-being. I'm eating a diet that my body definitely feels better eating. Now I'm doing a phased return to work. I work in social investment and I'm really enjoying getting stuck back into my job. I'm also living independently. I'm living in a co-living community and really enjoying meeting people, socialising. I enjoy taking time out in nature, going for walks, practising yoga. And I've also incorporated things that I learnt while I was ill. So for example, I have a regular meditation practice, and I make sure I take time for self-care, which I didn't really do before.